Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. I am recording this talk as part of the Legacy, Lineage and Leadership Summit. And I'm pre-recording because this is not a very workable, in my time zone, it isn't a workable time for me to go live because I live in a very small space and I would wake everyone up. So I'm pre-recording. So when I signed up to do this summit, I didn't know what I wanted to speak on. I had absolutely no idea. I just knew that I wanted to channel through something that was needed, something that was really present right now. And nothing actually came to mind until I sat down and specifically asked my spirit guides, what will I be talking on? And the first thing they told me was the title of my talk, which is How to Be Your Truth in the Face of Resistance. And that is very appropriate for me right now. And I'm very aware that I currently and for a while have been a very direct mirror to a lot of the people around me. And I know that because I keep getting people reaching out to me saying that they really resonate with what I'm talking about and some of the things that I'm saying. I'm finding I am kind of one step ahead of a lot of people that are resonating with me in that they don't feel comfortable to speak their truth yet. I wouldn't exactly say I'm comfortable speaking my truth yet either, but I am getting there. So yes, this topic is extremely appropriate right now. So thank you very much, guides, for that. So how to be your truth in the face of resistance. And yes, I am coming up against a lot of resistance this last couple of days about doing this talk. So great little test there from the universe, which is it's going to be big when things are aligned like that. Now, so I asked my guides for a guide on what to talk about in this talk, and they've given me a bit of an outline. So you'll see me referencing some notes down here. There's only a few little bits and pieces, but my intention is to channel through the rest, fill in the gaps, and I'm kind of new to that. Well, not new to channeling, but new to speaking publicly while channeling. So this is a little bit nerve-wracking, but we're doing it. Okay, I'm being my truth. So, okay, first section. What do I mean by your truth? So, what I mean by that is I mean 100% not holding back, not compromising. Everything that you always knew that you were somewhere deep down inside of you, but you just kind of were a bit too scared to be it, or you modified it, or maybe you were shot down in the past for being fully that. And someone looked at you and went, that's weird. What'd you do that for? That's what I'm talking about. You're weird. That is what I mean by your truth. You're weird. You're all the things that make you, that you automatically want to do or say and be, but then you hesitate. The bits that are, not the bits that are easy, not the bits that you just do all the time without thinking about it. I'm talking about the bits that actually bring up resistance or hesitation in you. They're usually the bits that don't fit the social norm, usually. The parts that you've been judged for or that you feel misunderstood about. you go to say, you think something in your mind, but you filter it out before it gets to your mouth, because you think, no, they're not going to get that. That is what I'm referring to when I say your truth. And so those things that come through, that truth of yours, especially the things that you have resistance, that you avoid, those things, they are basically pointing to where something is dissonant with your soul. So your soul knows exactly who you are. It knows its purpose. It knows exactly who you need to be. You know all of those things. And when you are being your truth, you are 100% in alignment with your soul. Not in alignment with other people around you, what's acceptable, all that. That's you being in alignment with your soul. And not all the souls around you are going to agree, and not all the souls around you are going to have the same truth. Everybody has their own truth. And that's why we feel so outside of the norm, because we are completely unique and individual, and we are different to each other. But we're so used to needing outside validation from the people around us. It's where we're more comfortable, I suppose. But when I'm talking about, when I'm referring to being your truth, I'm referring to the things that only you can validate, especially when it's something that people around you won't necessarily understand. But you know it's your truth. It's your truth. Okay, so that's what I mean by your truth. So next section here is, why is it so important to be your truth? I guess the thing is that most of us are brought up not with that. we're not taught that. Mostly we're not taught that it's important to be your truth. Mostly we are taught that it's important to be accepted and to fit in. So for the most part, I mean, that's where that comes from. That's why we have that hesitation and that resistance to being 100% our full, unabashed truth. Because generally, if you can think of anyone you know that doesn't look for outside validation, usually they're kind of looked upon a bit weirdly, like they're a bit strange, you know. That, I don't know. It's just I'm sure most of you can relate to it. We're also taught you need to fit in. You need to be like everybody else, and you need to look around you for validation of what's appropriate and what isn't. And you need to base yourself on the general consensus of what everybody agrees is appropriate and what isn't. But that doesn't really allow for much individuality, though, does it? So the reason... So I guess because of that programming that we have, a lot of the time, and I'm speaking for myself here, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate if you've already started down a bit of your own self journey, is that quite often we actually think we are being our truth, and it takes quite a lot of peeling back the layers to realize that actually we're just following the expectations of those around us. I mean, I thought for a very long time that I was being me and making my own decisions, and doing the things that I wanted to do. It's like the thing that's coming to mind right now is my first career that I chose as a web designer. That I chose. Yeah. I really thought I chose it, but when I look back at it now, I could even see that I could see where my real choice was. That I didn't, I thought I did make my real choice, but I remember going to the guidance counselor in high school and doing this sort of like a quiz that you put in all your interests and the things that you love to do and that kind of thing, and it would spit out some careers that might be appropriate for you. And there might have been others, but the one that stuck in my mind that came out of this survey was that I should be a music therapist. And part of me thought, that sounds like the best thing ever. Like, that's amazing. But then immediately, and I know now that was my truth speaking there. That was my truth. But because I wasn't aware that what I was being was actually based in something else, then immediately after that, there was a voice that's, I thought, oh, that's amazing. That sounds like the best job ever. But then but you can't do that because you can't make any money from that. Nobody makes money from that. Nobody's ever heard of that. What is that? I mean, like, I know now that's a thing. A lot of people understand what a music therapist is now, and that, frequency healing and that kind of thing. But so this was the year 2000, I think, was when I was in grade 12. So it was like, I've never heard of a music, like, I know it exists, but they're like the weird hippie people that I don't, because apparently I couldn't be one of those, even though I clearly am. But I didn't know that at the time. But yeah, that was just I did not even take it seriously for a second. It was just, no, you can't make enough money from that. It's not a real career. It's not a real job. You just can't. I now recognize it is a real career and a real job, and I could have made a lot of money from it. But not the point. Like, the point was that I suppose I had decided, in my effort to fit in and be a successful, normal part of society, that my criteria for success was going to be very much based around money. I'm not actually sure. It was a subconscious thing, so I'm not really sure what I was thinking. But somehow I ended up convincing myself that I needed to be a web designer, because that was the up and coming thing. Everybody needs web designers. It has design in it. There's some creativity there. So therefore I should go with that, because I'm creative and I can make good money from that. So I should do it. Turned out that I kind of really didn't use any of my creativity in that. And I made a lot of money, but I was making a lot of money being someone who wasn't me, basically. It wasn't being my truth. So I'm getting a bit off track here. Let me go. Reminiscing. So why is it so important to be your truth, your actual truth? Because those little inklings that we get, that we may ignore for many, many years, they are telling us what our life purpose is and what our gift is to the world. They're, like, it's not our gift to be cookie cutter. Like, our gift, our weird is our gift. That's what makes us unique. We have a unique combination of experiences that nobody else in the whole, no human any other being in the multiverse has. Like, you're the only one with your set of experiences. You're the only one who pieces things together in that particular way that you see it in this perspective. That's your gift. That is the gift that you are providing to all of the people around you, to, you know, whoever it is around you. So basically, if you are not following your weird and your truth, you are doing a real disservice to the world. If you're, you know, if you're reducing yourself down to something that is acceptable to the majority of people around you, then, I don't know, I feel like there's some kind of analogy there, but it's not coming to me. It's like taking your gift and your magic and the reason, you know, what you're here to provide as a service, as a gift to the world, and just watering it down. Just watering it down. Which means you're not providing the gift. You're just telling yourself you're doing little parts of it, but no, you're just not giving the gift. You're not experiencing it yourself, and the other people around you don't get to experience it. So you are doing a disservice to the world, to the planet, to everything and every energy around you. Because we all do have our own genius. I know we are an unschooling family, so which basically, I guess, you know, call it school of life type of, you know, we end up learning all of the same subjects that they do at school, but we just do it in a sort of a more free-flowing, organic way of getting there. And I know in those kind of circles, you know, a lot of people do understand that every human is a genius. It's just whether their particular genius is recognized by the people around them, you know, whether they are considered a genius in their circles. But if you widen the scope of, you know, the gifts that are required, that are needed in the world, everybody is a genius. Like, truly, every single human is. But the thing is, every human is a genius, but not every human steps into their genius. And I guess that's what I'm here for. That's the purpose of this talk. Is getting you to realize that it is important that you step into your genius. It really is important, and you can do it. So, but I want you to think about, where are you at with being your truth? Would you say you've started? You know, would you say you always have been naturally and you don't have resistance to, you know, you're not worried about fitting in? Would you say you are almost your truth, you know, mostly there? Or are you wholly and completely 100% your whole weird, everything? What? And I bet that no one listening to this can say that they are 100%. I think everybody will say they have some form of resistance going on. And that's the bit that I'm talking about here. This is the bit that we want to work on. We want to get 100% there, like 110% there, the whole way, all of it, okay? No compromises. So now let's talk about resistance, the types of resistance that we face. Now, obviously it's going to be specific per person, but we all have some pretty, you know, similar things that affect the decisions that we make over time and whether they're aligned with our, with our soul or not. Things like our family and our friends, our peers. It's if you work in a career where you need to fit into this certain mold, then if, for example, scientists is a great one. There is some amazing science discoveries going on in the world right now, but I'm sure you've all noticed there's a very fixed mentality of what is in the mainstream circles and the media, all that kind of stuff, of what is acceptable as science. All of this talk about the science is settled and all that kind of thing, don't question it. But yeah, I'm going off on another tangent. I shouldn't go down that tangent because I'll be here all day. So, but anyway, peers, workplace peers, families and friends, the government, like I was just saying, the media, the government, they have a huge influence on whether we feel safe and comfortable to be completely our truth, because there is a lot of expectations set up in the community to follow, to be a good citizen or whatever, follow the rules, fit in, all of that. There's not a lot of room there for So some of the ways that we're kind of brought into that is like through, as I mentioned, through media, TV shows, Hollywood movies, all that kind of stuff. If you notice, it's all sets up quite a narrow band of what is socially acceptable, and then as a community we kind of build on that, and then it's becomes like this self-regulating thing that everybody expects everyone to be the same, act the same, and so I guess we can talk about how I often talk about, especially with my children, about programming, as in programming our own minds, because so I guess the thing is we kind of think of programming as, well, I guess it goes both ways is what I'm trying to say. So all of the things that we grow up with, that are around us, that we see, that people tell us are acceptable, that's programming our brain to be a certain way. But when you start to take responsibility for that, but if you realize that your brain, it's meant to be programmed, it will be programmed. So you just get to choose how it's going to be programmed, and you can either just follow along with however everyone around you programs you, or you can stop and go, is that a program that I want to take on, or do I want to stop and question that? This is something that I'm always talking about with my kids, like when they're choosing what they want to watch on YouTube. And yeah, I go, what do you think this video's programming you? And there's obvious things, and then there's a lot of little subconscious things underneath that but it's good to start becoming aware of that, is that you actually do choose what programming you want to take on. So if you're exposing yourself to a programming over and over again that is not something that you want to be programmed with, then you can change that. You don't have to be programmed in the way that everyone else around you programs you. But so there is our individual level of choice, and how we choose to program ourselves. But there also is, that comes down to like our individual experiences, that we can choose individual experiences day by day and moment by moment, even coming down to what we're thinking. But there's also these kind of like common sets of programming that are already set up in our community, in our culture or whatever, in the form of like roles. Like, for example, if maybe you haven't had these experiences yourself yet, but you know that the expectation of what it is to be a mother, the role of a mother is you need to be X, Y, Z, whatever. So we kind of like take on these big chunks of pre-programmed things that we haven't even experienced yet, that we've already decided, we've taken on as this common programming. So there's just so much of that just goes on for our entire lives, when we're born, even before we're born, when we're, in our mother's womb, we're already taking on those programs and those experiences that were actually someone else's experiences, but we're taking them on as our own. And those are the things that kind of, that's where the resistance comes in. That's where there's a dissonance between our own truth and what we've been told is our truth by this kind of collective programming. So I guess the interesting thing about this is we have this collective programming, but we also all have this experience of feeling like we're the only one. That no one else will understand, or it's really interesting. And I guess depending on, what environment you're surrounded with, it's easy to think that, you're different, you're more stuck, you can't, it's harder for you, like other people have, different role models, or people that are more supportive of their weird or their uniqueness. Right, so yeah, it can, because we're always looking outside for validation, it can be easy to think that we don't have the choice, that it really is dependent on our, our environment and what's around us. But I guess what I'm trying to get to here is that when we think of resistance, we think of all of this outside stuff, but really when it comes down to it, all resistance, no matter what it is, even if it looks like it's from the outside, all resistance actually comes from within. Because everything around us is a mirror. We are mirrors for other people, but everything around us is a mirror. So if you are seeing resistance come up around you, something that's stopping you from being you, from doing what makes you happy, whatever it is, it may seem like that resistance is coming from whoever outside who says, no, you can't do that, you're not allowed to, that's not acceptable. But actually it's coming from inside you, which can seem overwhelming. But it also can be quite empowering, because you actually do have control. You actually can change it yourself. It is up to you. Which, that's kind of like, this polarity thing, like, oh, it's up to me. It really is. I think that somebody else won't let me do this thing. It's actually coming from me. It's actually resistance from inside of me. So basically, all resistance is from within, which means we have the power to change it. because it's inside of us. It's coming from within us. Now, I guess I have a bit of a personal example that I'm a little bit scared to talk about on this. I know not everybody will relate to it, but I also know that some of you definitely will. So I consider myself to be a polyamorous person, and to me, relating to the term polyamorous, what that means to me is it means that I have the ability and the want to love more than one person. And that seems it brings up a lot of resistance. This is something that I've not known for a very long time. It's only been kind of recent years, but it's something that I notice brings up a lot of resistance in society, because generally it's not something that is accepted as the social norm in most circles. Definitely not all circles, but in the mainstream circles. But that seems very strange to me, because literally what it means to me is that I have the ability to love more than one person. And yeah, that sounds like a strange thing to say to me, because I know that every human has the ability to love more than one person. Because it's hugely common and acceptable to love, to love many friends, to love more than one child, to love more than one parent. It's only when it comes down to this is when I notice the difference in the programming. Is when it comes down to loving more than one partner. That's when that can bring up a lot of resistance for a lot of people. So that's something that I'm looking at myself, that I'm working with myself, and it's really easy to think, oh, I'm getting outside resistance to this. That because even though that it kind of seems to me like, no, I've worked through this. This makes sense to me. I understand that ability to love more than one person. That's logical to me. But I know it's not just about logic. Just because you logically understand something doesn't mean that there isn't other layers. We have been emotionally programmed our entire lives to, what is normal, what is acceptable. And so it can seem to me like I'm getting outside resistance. But when I actually stop and look at it, I know that the resistance I'm seeing on the outside from other people purely is mirroring my own self-consciousness about that on the inside. I am resisting because I am afraid of not being accepted and not being understood, all of those things. So even if you don't relate to the example of being polyamorous, I know you will relate to the example of feeling like you're not understood, or that you're afraid to not be accepted. So I guess, all right, let's move on to the next. So we've been through what do I mean by your truth? Why is it so important to be your truth? And the types of resistance that we face. So let's get to the bit, the bit we all need, including me. How to be your truth. Okay, so when I channeled this through, my guides gave this to me as, they gave it to me as 5 points. But it's not exactly, don't think of it like a 5-step process. Do these 5 points and you're done. It's not that kind of thing. Really, it's like this beautiful, messy spiral that repeats again and again. And it goes up new layers, new layers of the onion. And each time you go through this process or around, around this process, you get a deeper and deeper understanding each time. And you will also find that you will get more resistance come up as well, most likely, because you work through a level and then when you get comfortable working through a level of something, then the next level comes up and it kind of gets deeper and deeper and deeper. So it can feel harder. It can feel like you're getting more resistance. But that's only because your guides know that you've practiced. You can handle it now. So you're getting the big step ups. I'm sure a lot of you are already at that stage and have felt it. So okay, let's go through these steps. I think this is not the only way to do it, but if you are feeling resistance and you're just feeling stuck and thinking, how do I move this? Because I want to be my truth and I don't know how to get past. So this is just a bit of a guide that can help you to start shifting through and keep moving along the spiral. So point number 1 is that my guides told me. Point number 1 is find your worth. Reinforce your self-worth and why you are an integral, important cog on this planet. You are needed. You are important. You are an integral part of the universe, and the whole universe is contained within you. So I feel like this is something that a lot of us know. We know it, but knowing it is not the same thing as embodying it, like really finding your worth. So you can know it, but if you have resistance coming up, I would say come back to this. Come back to find your worth. So it can be easy when we get caught up in the, in the resistance. When we get caught up in the resistance around us. And whether that's looking like you're blaming other people or whether you're up to the point of recognizing that it's resistance within you. Usually at that point we've kind of lost some power. We've lost, we're kind of caught up in other people being important. And maybe we've forgotten, forgotten our worth. I mean, it's one of those things that it sounds really cliche to say, oh, you're worthy. But no, I'm feeling called. This is something that I do with my kids a fair bit, and it's usually when they look like they're not seeing their worth, when they're feeling stuck, and I'll look them in the eye and I'm good. Okay, there we go. There you are. So I'm talking to you. You are important. You are so very important. And your feelings are important. You have the most amazing gifts to give this planet. And the planet is waiting for you to give them. They need you. They need you to be you. They need you to be your truth. Because nobody else on the whole planet can give the gifts that you can. Only you can. It's only you. So you are very important. You are so very important. Just take that in for a minute. You are important. You are needed. You are necessary. And you are worthy. So even if you don't believe it yourself right now, know that I believe it. And I want you to be your truth. Okay? So if you need to hear that from somebody else, then please take that from me today. And I would like to see you as your truth, because the planet needs it. So please, be your truth. Oops, I've lost my spot. Find your worth. Okay. So find your worth. Recognize that you are worthy of being exactly who you are. All your weird, all of your no compromises, everything that makes you happy, everything that makes you you. Number 2 is start, and I'm sure many of you have already done a lot of this, but again, this is a spiral. There's always more levels. Number 2 is start recognizing and identifying what is and what isn't your truth by tuning into the frequencies and the universe around you, tuning into your intuition, your guides. Feel when something is resonant in your body. Practice feeling your truth, feeling your own pleasure, feeling your fear, and looking at your mirrors. So seeing what, when resistance comes up around you, turning that and going, where's the resistance in me? So first of all, it's literally about just being in it and recognizing the feelings. Practice feeling what you feel, whether that's a positive or a negative or a whatever it is, however you want to see it. Just practice feeling when something feels in resonance with your soul. And practice feeling when something feels dissonant with your soul. So, and it really does need practice, because you sometimes, you can say if something feels good, it's resonant. If something doesn't feel good, then it's dissonant. But we all know that fear comes into things too. So sometimes it's the right thing for you. It's your truth. You know that that's what you need to do. Like, say, for example, I know, I knew that I needed to do this talk. I do not feel good about speaking publicly just yet. Actually, I am feeling pretty good right now. But beforehand, I was feeling pretty terrified and nervous. That it wasn't a good feeling, but I knew that it was a resonant feeling. I knew that it was something that I was feeling pulled to do, that it was important for me to do for myself. And I know that some of you guys here need to hear this, okay? I just know. So even though it felt like something I would have said, I don't want to do this, I knew it was a resonant feeling. So that's what I'm talking about practicing. I'm talking about practicing tuning into frequencies. And I mean, there's so many ways you can do this. This is why people sit and meditate and, just listen to your body. You can even listen, I guess that's a clear one, isn't it? Is listening to the physical signals in your body. If you get pain or hurt, or your gut starts playing up, or those types of things. Take notice when you eat certain foods. How do you feel? Is that resonant with your truth and your body, and does that make you feel good? Or when you always eat something in particular, dairy for example, does that upset your stomach? Does it, those types of things. Just practice feeling. I'm not saying try to change it or anything at this point. It's just practice feeling and noticing when something is resonant with your soul and when something is dissonant with your soul. And test it out. Just you need to learn to identify when something is your truth and when something isn't your truth. So first you need to know you are worthy of being your truth 100%. Then you need to start identifying when something is your truth and when something isn't your truth. And again, this will come around in layers. You'll learn it in levels. This is never ending. This doesn't finish. You don't finish this journey. It keeps going. The spiral keeps going. So number 3 is take radical responsibility for your own journey. So if everything external to you is a mirror, a reflection of what is within you, then it also works both ways. Change what's inside you, and what is reflected will also change. Yeah, that's very true. I didn't remember writing that. Yeah, yeah. So channeled, obviously. So people outside of you are mirroring what's inside of you. If you're feeling friction with what you're experiencing on the outside, I guess what I'm feeling to say right now is don't concentrate on your reaction to the external mirror. Concentrate on you from the inside and your internal resistance, and go through these steps to turn that around within you, and then your outside mirrors will change to align with what's on the inside. Because sometimes when you try to concentrate on the outside and react and, fight back to whatever's happening on the outside, it can just make the whole thing worse. So turn it inside. Take radical responsibility for your own journey. You. It's within you. It doesn't matter if it looks like something on the outside. It is within you because they are mirroring you. So ways that you take radical responsibility for your own journey. So I've written a couple of things here. And I'm noticing that the word nurture is in there a lot. Nurture and fall in love with yourself. Nurture your body, your 3D body health, your mental health, your emotions, your anxieties. Regulate your nervous system. Nurture your spirit and the belief systems that are blocking you from being connected to all that you are. Okay, so this is the brain reprogramming that I was talking about earlier. Learn how to reprogram your beliefs and get help in doing so. So nurture you. Nurture yourself on every level. Your body, your mind, your emotions, your nervous system. I feel like that's something that, I don't know, it does get talked about a lot, especially in the neurodivergent communities. But yeah, giving yourself the space to, you are important. You can stop and regulate your own nervous system. You don't need to push through, right now. Stop and nurture yourself. Love yourself. Love your body. Nurture your mental health. Yep, your anxiety. Give yourself what you would give someone that you love and adore. That, how you would look after them. Do that for yourself. Which includes nurturing your own thoughts and, your own belief systems. So I guess this kind of leads into the next thing. So I've said learn how to reprogram your own beliefs and get help to do so. Point number 4, I've got support systems. Find your people. Find your support networks, your mentors, your practitioners. And these can be physical beings, spirit guides, astral beings, aliens, anyone that you want to talk to. You know, if you have the intention that every being you speak to is there for the benefit of you and you're aligning with your soul, then they will be. You just need to have that intention. So you can... So I mentioned learning how to reprogram your beliefs. Now this is something that I said I'd talk about this a lot with my kids and my family, but it's also, you know, something you can do yourself, but you can also get other people to help you do that. I like to use a thing called Psych K. Kind of sounds a little bit too good to be true because it's so fast. You can reprogram, you know, certain beliefs that you know that you are, if you've identified beliefs that you know are holding you back. This having a Psych K practitioner work with you, we can help identify that belief and then reprogram it to a different belief. It doesn't have to be a long, slow process. If you want it to be a longer, slower process, sometimes I like to spend more time really working through the layers of something myself, and I prefer to do it slower. Sometimes I just have a session and reprogram a belief just like that, and it's gone. So anyway, ask me if you want any more information about that, because that's something that I find extremely useful in my life. Okay, so support systems, yeah. So, and this is literally, you know, friends, like, find people online that are doing similar things to you. Find other people that are trying to be their truth, that are trying to, you know, step into their weird. Sometimes it frustrates me that, having online, when online groups, things like that, because I think, I just want to go and hang out with these people. But also, online relationships are real relationships. Find these people. It doesn't matter if they're on the other side of the world and you can't go and meet them for, a cuppa or whatever. Maybe you will one day, but find the support systems. If you don't have local people that are doing the same as you, then find other people online that are doing the same as you. And I promise you, it's worth it. You need to have these support systems and get to know get to know your spirit guides, but actually you don't need to get to know everything about it. You can just tap into your spiritual networks. You are connected to the entire universe. You are the universe. So you have every answer there is. Your brain, this is how our brains are programmed. Your brain is a receiver that has the ability to tap into any piece of knowledge anywhere in the universe. So use that. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer. You're going to be programmed no matter what. So you choose how you want to be programmed and rely on these, get to know your support networks, your spiritual and physical. And then the last point, number 5, is get ridiculously persistent. And this is where, just do it. Resistance will occur. Just because resistance comes up does not mean that you have failed or you haven't gotten there. No, there will be resistance. That's the thing. Resistance shows that you're progressing. You're moving up. You're on the next level of the spiral. You've finished this level. You've gone up to the next level. So you will get resistance. Celebrate the resistance. Resistance is fantastic, because when you push through it, that's how you get to the gold. So I'll go back over, so the main point here is be persistent. Commit to yourself And just, even when it's hard, even when it is so hard. Now, I've been tested on this the last couple of days. I'm sure because this talk was coming up, I needed to be in the, I needed to, I haven't done this for a long time, but I felt so much resistance that I just wanted to give up on everything, on everything. But this is ridiculously persistent. Now, so when the resistance comes up, go back and start again. I'm going to go through the 5 points very briefly. When you get to that, I give up. It's like when you're birthing. It's like transition. I can't do this. This is that stage number 5. It's transition. That's what it is. Okay, so let's go back over the 5. Number 1, find your worth. Number 2, start recognizing and identifying what is your truth and what isn't your truth. Feel into that. Number 3, take radical responsibility for your own journey. It is you. You and you alone. You are in control. You get to choose what you are going to do with your life. Only you. You choose for you. Number 4, get support systems. Have networks of people that you can, or energies that you can rely on to help you make the choice yourself. And number 5, be ridiculously persistent. I can't overemphasize that. Ridiculously persistent. Yeah. And when resistance comes up, that is fantastic. You are doing amazing. That's what you want to see. You want to see the resistance because that means that you are doing well. You've got it. So yeah, and actually that is the last point here, is that I've put a note here to celebrate your progress. Celebrate. Because you are a magical being. The world is waiting for you to be you. You. Not like almost you, completely you. The world is waiting for you. So please become you. Celebrate every tiny little step. You are amazing. You are magical. We love you. We need you. So please go out and be you. Much love. If you are interested in following my work, and I don't even know what project to share with you because things are evolving a lot right now. But please follow along at the Billionaire Artist on Facebook or Instagram, because there's a lot of exciting things coming. So if you're interested in what I have to speak about, then please do follow along, because there's so much coming. Thanks.